Hello, this is Andrea Del Priori, and in this video, I would like to talk to you about confidence during a job interview. And this is something that I have struggled with and I still struggle with. So first off, I'd like to say that they've seen your resume, and at this point, they like what they've seen. They've invited you in. So you have the skills, you have the experience that they're looking for. Also, having worked in many human resources departments, I can tell you that it's not easy to find a good employee or the right fit. So hiring managers and companies and HR departments, they need you just as much as you need them. All right, so let's get right to the heart of the matter. I'd like to dive right in and talk about you've arrived to the interview 10 minutes early, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual via Zoom or Teams, etc. You're not too early, but you are 10 minutes early, and that's the perfect time to start to panic, right? So we want to mitigate that and regulate our nervous system. So number one, use breathing techniques. And don't roll your eyes. This is proven with evidence that when you use breathing techniques, you regulate your nervous system and you're going to slow your heart rate down. So how do you use breathing techniques? First, you want to take a deep breath in and count to 4. And then slow and controlled, you want to let the breath out, and you can count anywhere from 6 to 8. So deep breath in, count to 4, slow and controlled, release your breath and count up to 8 seconds. You don't want to get dizzy. You want to do this at your comfort level, of course. And you can breathe in for 4 and out for about 8 for about maybe 5 to 10 times. And that will slow down your heart rate and regulate your nervous system. Another technique is standing like a superhero. So hands on the hips or at the waist, feet hip width apart, chin up, shoulders back. And you could do your breathing techniques in this pose. It makes you feel like a superhero. It gives you the confidence. If you are in person, you may need to go to the facilities, the restroom, go in a stall, and you could do some of these techniques if you're not comfortable doing it in the chair. If you're in a Zoom or a virtual meeting, it can be a little bit easier because no one has arrived yet and no one can see you doing it. You can also shake your hands, shake your body. If you are in person, definitely within that private bathroom stall, take a 5-minute break in there and shake out your nerves. You can also self-soothe by rubbing your arms or rubbing your head a little bit. It helps you to self-soothe and calm and regulate your nervous system. You can also use humor or think of something funny. And of course, you don't want to be in a fit of laughter when you enter your interview. But for me personally, I think of the Rodney Dangerfield movie Ladybugs, where he's in a self-help group and they're saying, "I'm great, I'm wonderful, everybody likes me." It just cracks me up, but not to a point where I'm hysterically laughing, and that helps me to get a little chuckle and get a little lighthearted before I have to go in my interview. So that's my personal funny video that I think of. You also want to, once you're in the interview, or actually when you are waiting in that 10 minutes as well, put away your notes. You've already prepared at this point, or you should have already prepared at this point. So looking at your notes at the last minute is going to rattle your nerves. Put away your notes. You could even use distractions if you want to, if it's appropriate, to look on your cell phone, look at some funny videos or pictures of your family or your friends. That can make you feel confident and happy. Of course, during the interview, you definitely want to put that cell phone right away, of course. But as you're waiting beforehand, distractions can help to give you that confidence and forget about your nerves. Moving right along to showing your confidence. So now you're in the interview and you're meeting with the hiring manager or colleagues, teammates, or human resources, and you want to show your confidence. Be conversational, and this can be difficult. I myself am a little bit socially awkward, I'll admit, so this can be a little bit difficult, but I'll give you an experience that I've had. It was during the summertime, and during the interview, the person interviewing me asked me how my summer was going. So to me, that was a segue to being conversational. So you want to take these cues from the person. Are they wanting to talk about something that is appropriate, professional, but it's not related exactly to this interview or this job? They're just being conversational. So when she asked me, how's your summer going? I said, it's going great. I went to the beach a couple times. And then I took it one step further and I said, have you gone on any vacations or do you have anything planned? So I'm being friendly, conversational, and likable. And then we started talking somehow about Europe and Italy, and we started talking about the different parts of Italy that we want to go to, and I always dream about going to Capri. So you definitely want to take your cues from that person, read them. Are they wanting to talk about this? Or, you don't want to drag it out to where they're like, okay, let's get down to business, enough is enough. But, people want to have a conversation. They want to work with someone that they get along with and that they can kind of vibe with. Another tip, your statements should not sound like questions. So you don't want to use that higher inflection in your voice when you are answering their question. For example, why did you leave your last job? I was looking for upward mobility and I was looking for growth opportunities. You don't want to say this like, I was looking for upward mobility and I was looking for growth opportunities. No, you don't want to say it like that. You want to say it like a definitive statement, and this will show confidence. I was looking for upward mobility and I was looking for growth opportunities. And that's why I was so excited to see this role, because I have a lot of skills and experience that translate nicely to this role, and it would be a great fit for both of us. Of course, you want to dress appropriately, and this can really depend on the type of business, the type of job, but generally speaking, you want to be well groomed, have your hair brushed, and clean. You want to smell nice. You don't want to overdo it with the perfume or the cologne. Wear a blazer, a nice outfit, maybe a watch. You want to have your shoulders back to show confidence and your chin up. You don't want to be slouched over. And you want to make eye contact. Now, this can be tricky, especially for those of us who have experienced some sort of trauma in our lives. And I'd like to tell you that you don't need to look directly into someone's eyes. They can't tell whether you're looking at their nose or their forehead or their cheeks. Just look in that area, and it might be easier to show eye contact without actually looking right into someone's eyes. But it is super important to make that contact. You also want to smile, so you want to show that you are friendly and you can get along with others, but you don't want to smile too much and you don't want to nod too much. So if you think about it, if someone is smiling and nodding a lot, it just shows that they're really eager, and people generally get a little bit turned off by that. They don't want someone who's too eager. Keep in mind as well that on a lot of interviews, they don't always ask the best questions. And one example that I have come across a lot is they'll ask a multi-part question, which is actually 3, 4, maybe even 5 questions within one question. And it's very overwhelming from my experience. I can't remember all of those parts of the question. It's silly. So what we can do is be honest with them and say, I want to remember each part of this question. can we start with the first part? Or let me write this down. I don't want to miss anything. I want to address every part of your question. You can ask them to repeat it. You can pause as well. Pausing is fine. You don't need to talk at the speed of light. Pausing actually builds interest when you have a little space of silence, a few seconds. It can build their interest in what you're going to say next. You can also ask for clarity if it's confusing. So I've faced a lot of confusing questions too. So you can ask them, did you want me to explain that a little further? Are you looking for an example of a time that I had a conflict at work, or what exactly? Could you clarify what you're looking for there? I'd be happy to explain that. Also, use positive self-talk. So you don't want to put yourself down. You do want to focus on me, what I did. So you don't necessarily want to talk about, we or my manager, but me. What did I accomplish? What was my part of it? And also show that you are proud of yourself and you believe in yourself. With positive self-talk, don't over-apologize. So once in a while, it might be appropriate to apologize if you made an error, if you forgot to attach something in an email or whatever the case may be, but you definitely don't want to keep saying, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I'm so sorry for every little thing. It shows a lack of confidence. And I know this one is really tricky for some of us. So practice, practice, practice. Also accept compliments. So if they say, wow, your experience or your education is very impressive, we really like that. Don't say, oh, it's nothing, or, oh, I had a lot of help. No, just say, thank you. And don't get defensive. So sometimes it may seem as if they're criticizing you, but you definitely don't want to get defensive. Give them the benefit of the doubt and just assume that they're making an observation or their comment is not a slight at you. Now, my last tip, we're going a little bit in reverse, is to prepare beforehand. So you want to do your homework and you want to prepare what you want to say. So you want to think of a lot of different questions that they might ask you. A big one is, tell me about yourself. And they're not looking for, oh, I like to dance, I like to hang out with my family. No, they're looking for something professional. I graduated with my Doctor of Philosophy in Higher Education in 2020. I have a lot of experience building training programs on the job. I'm passionate about learning and development. And then take it back to this current role. And I was very excited to see this role because I see there would be a lot of opportunities for me to create and maintain training materials and roll out presentations. So short and sweet, get to the point. Talk about yourself professionally. They don't need to know anything about your personal life. You also want to prepare for questions like, tell me about a time you faced a conflict at work. Tell me about a time that you were creative, you were collaborative. And it really depends on the job description, what they're looking for. So you want to take it from the description and from any conversations that you've had with a recruiter or what you've read on Glassdoor or what you can read about the company online. And you want to use the STAR technique. So you may have heard of this before. STAR, STAR. It stands for situation, task, action, and result. So situation, what job was it? What was your job title? Task, what were you tasked with doing? What was your job? Action, what did you do that was meaningful? And the result, what was the great outcome of your action? I'll give you a couple examples from my own experience. I actually write this down. You could type it up, you could write it down to get started. And then once you do, you want to practice, practice, practice. You want to say it out loud. It could be alone, it could be in front of a mirror, it could be with your friend, your partner, a family member. It could be over the phone with someone. You could do a virtual call, for practice as well, but you want to practice it out loud several times. And the good thing about this is you can use these examples in all of your interviews, probably. Then you can adjust it accordingly to what they're asking you. So that's the beautiful thing about these STAR examples that you're going to work on, is that you can use these for all your interviews. All right, so let me give you a couple examples of the STAR technique. Situation: I was Assistant Director of Human Resources at XYZ company. Task: my job was to create a search committee bias training, so a hiring bias training for the chairs, the faculty chairs, and the vice presidents, as well as the hiring managers. The action that I took was I put together the training. I taught them about unconscious bias. I taught them about illegal interview questions and the appropriate questions to ask during an interview. Also crafting a job description that's inclusive so that all different kinds of diverse folks apply. And the result was that the leaders of the institution understood how to have an inclusive hiring process, and we were able to do just that and have a more inclusive hiring process. Another example: I worked at a fairly new solar company as a human resources generalist. That was the situation. The task: I had to educate the managers about compliance during the hiring process, what kinds of things that we needed from the new hires within a certain time frame. The action: I held trainings. I taught managers about the I-9 process and the 3 days according to federal law that are required for certain documentation. Again, about illegal interview questions, how new hires need to sign those sexual harassment policies and other policies. The result was that managers understood why I kept asking for these documents. It wasn't just, oh, Drea is a pain, but there are laws that we need to comply, and they understood that we are protecting the company from receiving fines, that we had a much better relationship and a much smoother onboarding process. So those are two of my examples of the STAR technique. And again, you want to write this down or type it up. You want to practice it again and again and again. Say it out loud. Take breaks. You're doing great. Make sure that you give yourself, a pat on the back and a break, and then practice again until you can do it without looking at your notes. So one time I was on a job interview. I opened up my portfolio and I had my notes, my STAR technique notes out, and I was looking at them, and the person interviewing me said, "Close your portfolio. I am not feeling a connection." So that taught me a lot, because the connection is the most important thing. So being conversational, having that eye contact, feeling that connection. So at the end of the day, again, they've liked what they've seen. They like your experience. They like your skills. Now it's just time to show how likable you are, and you are likable. So I hope this was helpful to you. Please let me know what else you'd like to see, and I would be happy to provide it. Thank you so much.